The Sockjig Sneaker Podcast. When people call me Sock, I think I really should have put some more thought into my name. Welcome to episode 21 of the Sockjig Sneaker Podcast. I'm your host, Sockjig. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Sockjig. First off, thank you to everyone who bought my recent pair of Coxcomb Red Sockjig socks. You know, those sold out really fast, and I had more pairs than I usually do, so it was really awesome to see. I tried to help out as many people as I could, and I was glad I was able to get more people than usual. But if you didn't, there will be another drop, coming pretty soon. And thank you to everyone who sent in feedback about the podcast, the last one. It's nice to see that people have my back and, were on my side and wanted to reach out and let me know. I appreciate all you guys who let me know that. Thank you very much. I also wanted to say, I probably will have more guest episodes, but also mix in these solo ones as well. The guest episodes are easier in some ways than these solo ones in that, I usually put a lot of work in the outline for these kind of solo ones and try to think of a theme and try to tie things together. Whereas, guest is a conversation, and that's difficult in its own ways, but because, my goal on those is to have a conversation with someone and not exactly interview them and ask them, how they got into sneakers and stuff like that. But for this episode, I want to talk about, first off, I want to talk about getting validation from sneaker publications. Also, the Sneaker Guy of the Week segment returns. I also talk about some of the recent releases, Off-White Dunk and the JoeFreshGoods pop-up event that they had. But the main topic for this episode is raffles, and why is everything a raffle now, and why are these damn raffle bots taking all the pairs? And really, who gets to tell the story of a drop when it's first come, first serve versus a raffle? But first, pickups and what's on feet today. Alright, on feet has been mostly GR Prestos. It's still summer, that's one of my favorite summer shoes. I also rocked the first Travis 1 lows that I had the week of the raffle just for, wishing yourself good luck. Also, for the photos I took for my socks, I got the Fear of God California slides in hand, the foam slides, made in Italy foam from the finest Italian foameries. And, the problem with those are I got an Italian size 45, which in every other size chart in the world is a US 12. But for some reason, for Jerry, that is actually a US 13. So they fit a bit big. I'll probably just be wearing them at home anyway. So if I wear them with thick socks or something like that, it will probably be fine. I also been wearing the Aloha Super Brainwash Victim Mark Gonzalez shoe. That's an Adidas skate shoe that I really like. And I had a few weddings to go to, so mostly just been wearing dress shoes. I'm not a sneakers with suit guy. Sneakers with suits are for little kids and rich guys. For pickups lately, I picked up the Undefeated pack, both the Dunk and the Air Force One. A friend actually picked those up for me, so thank you. You know who you are. I don't have those in hand yet. They're shipped to my US address. I also picked up the New Balance protection pack, the gray ones, the ones I compared to, Bruce Banner. They're a nice GR, I think, one, and I really like that model, the 2002R. But I sold that one. I just didn't see myself wearing it. I usually wear the Salehi shoe, and I already have a GR one of the 2002R, so I figured I'll just sell this one. I also got the ACG Air Moab. Bodega released that one early, I think probably by accident, and they were sitting all day. That's a classic colorway, so I was glad I was able to get those. I think the official release date is September 3rd. They added the pull tabs on it and a mini swoosh, and I actually don't mind the changes because that shoe has always been a pain in the ass to get on, so the pull tabs actually help. I sort of mentioned it last week, but I did get both Uni and Jordan 4s. A listener reached out to me and said they could help out, and so I'm super appreciative of that. Thank you so much. Even though I did call them, crisscross, cross-color shoes. them's those just jokes. I also got the raffle win for the Travis Fragment High. I admit I called this shoe lazy when I first saw it. And, my thought at the time was if you're doing a triple collab with all these big names, you should be doing something completely different. But, this is probably one of those classic cases in sneaker world of just judging too early. And then especially when you hit, then it's like, these aren't that bad. They're pretty good. But, we all judge too early until we see more photos, more on feed. Because I didn't know at the time that it was based off an OG sample, which, makes more sense. And, with Fragment, of course, there is in the last ones with the threes and stuff, he did veer away from the blue color. So it makes sense that he would go back to this blue color with Travis. But of course, the biggest draw for it is that it's ultra limited. And I've always said production numbers are part of the design of the shoe. This shoe wouldn't work as well if they made the same amount as a Shadow 2.0. But, they would never do that with collab shoes anyways. So just the fact that it's, ultra limited makes it a better shoe. That is usually a point of contention among purists and stuff like that. But that's just how it is. That's why I say the stock number is part of the design. All right, I wanted to talk about sneaker content creators and their relationship with sneaker publications like Complex, Nice Kicks, or BR Kicks. I see this sentiment online sometimes where that these publications should be recognizing talent, that they should be out here scouting this talent and rewarding them, or at least, shining a spotlight on them. This includes people on YouTube or Twitter or Instagram or podcasts, somebody like myself. I wrote this outline after listening to the Sneak This podcast. Check out that podcast if you haven't. And they were talking about the BR Kicks sneaker sketch show that really recently came out called Sneak This. They had an issue with that show because they felt the name was too similar. And, people who listened to the show were tagging BR Kicks and things like that. And also BR Kicks did a sketch about sneaker drafts, which is a recurring segment that they do. So, they rightfully thought that there were some similarities there. I've seen that sketch, and it's more a ripoff of, Chappelle's racial draft. But, they're right to think what they think. And so, basically, I said all this to what I'm about to say in this outline. I already said all this to George, so this is not really a sneak diss. I am sort of talking about them, but I'm also talking about myself. And it really applies to anyone out here creating sneaker content. These publications are not out here scouting talent on Twitter or YouTube. They are not sneaker talent scouts at all. They're too busy trying to get likes on Instagram. That showrunner for that BR Kick sneaker show, he used to work on Jimmy Fallon, so he's got, the production capabilities, how to make this kind of stuff. He's probably the one who scouted YouTube comedians to, create this show. But these publications, they're not trying to pluck someone out of obscurity and compensate them. But overall, they're not trying to elevate anyone that's not their own. Joe LaPuma is not watching your YouTube. Joe LaPuma does not give a shit about your YouTube. Even if he did see something he liked, he's not going to go out of his way to highlight and elevate that clip. He's more likely to promote his own programming or complex content than anything else. I'm just using JLP as an example. He could be a totally nice guy. I'm using him as an example of how he publicly portrays himself, not what he does behind the scenes. What he does behind the scenes, I don't know. So maybe he does do this kind of stuff, but publicly, usually just promotes his own. And he's not exactly wrong to do that. And, we all do that in a certain way of promoting our own and our friends and our colleagues. But when you're at a certain stature, either personally as Joe LaPuma or as the complex themselves, people do kind of expect this from them, even if they themselves have no interest in doing it at all. But really what I wanted to say is these sneaker publications, they're out here trying to be good at the thing that you're already good at. They want to be making better YouTube videos. They want to be making better segments for their podcasts. They want better social media posts. They want more engagement on their posts. That's basically all they want, and it's all they really care about. They're more social media accounts than actual publications these days. And what they do, they want to do it themselves with the people they already got. The CEO of Complex recently sent out a tweet. His name is Rich Antonello, and this was his tweet. The echo chamber of the same 50 cohorts saying the same 10 things and patting each other on the back that Twitter and podcasts have become is not helpful to anyone but the host/writer. So I had quote tweeted this and said, is the Complex CEO talking about Complex here? I don't know what inspired him to tweet that. He could have been listening to a podcast or reading something on the timeline or reading a book and just had this random thought and he tweeted it out. That's how Twitter is. Like it might not have been intentional or anything like that. But this is the CEO of a pop culture media empire. And if he really thought this, then he has the direct say and power to change exactly what he's complaining about here. If there's this echo chamber of the same people saying the same things and only doing it to help themselves, you as a CEO can change that. You can hire more new voices. You can hire different voices. You can hire, a diverse people. But is Complex actually doing this? Does he actually want to do this? I don't think so. I'm picking on Complex, but it's basically all of them, They all basically take the Vince McMahon approach here. Just keep bringing back the same guests and the same people to talk about the same stuff. What's Ben Baller or Perfect Pair think about this? Probably the same shit they said last time. But really, they're not out here looking for new voices. They already got voices for their YouTube and their podcasts, and they have a social media guy. And his job is to get likes. And those guys' jobs are to get views. So you go with the team you have and produce the likes. I know this might sound like, why am I not being on Complex? But really, it's the opposite. It's like, if you want validation, you can get it from your own audience. You're not going to get it from Complex or BR Kicks or Nice Kicks. Really, validation means compensation. It would be great to be noticed, have your program picked up, and then get paid for it, and then not change anything. But it doesn't work like that. Complex presents the Sockjig Sneaker Podcast would not be the same as this podcast. It'd probably be the same shit. Hey, Ben Baller, what do you think about these undefeated Air Force Ones? Hey, tell me a story about some bullshit you did that's half made up. That is not what the show is about. But if you create content your audience likes, and you make a product, say a sock, with your name on it, your audience will support you. If people like you, people will support you. If you have 10,000 followers and 1% buy a t-shirt, that's 100 shirts. Don't quote me on that. This is not a math podcast. I'm not saying go out there and make 100 shirts, but I'm saying if you want that validation, you can create it yourself from the people that already do support you. If you focus your energy on stuff like that and packaging and shipping a product to your supportive audience, you'll get more validation than you will trying to get Joe LaPuma to retweet you. And again, this is not a sneak diss to, ironically, the Sneak Diss podcast. I told them the same thing. I told them, hey, produce some hats, sell some hats, people will buy the hats. Your audience will support you. My audience has supported me, and I appreciate that so much. When people get the socks and share the socks and tweet it, it's awesome to see. It's great. That's literally validation. I always said I started my Twitter and podcast because I felt there was a void that what I thought wasn't out there in the sneaker world. So I was going to put it out there. I'm an older guy in this game, but like I've said before, I don't gatekeep. I'm not jaded, and I have fun in this. I have fun in the game despite all the bullshit that's been happening for many years now. And usually people my age are the opposite. They are jaded and they do gatekeep. So that's why I felt it was important to put my voice out there. So if you're out there and you're making content and your content is good, it's good because it's not complex. It's good because it's your voice. It's not their voice. And people who like you will support you because Joe LaPuma is not walking through that door. The sneaker guy of the week is the guy who likes to publicly proclaim the sneakers aren't fun anymore. There's too much fuckery in this game right now. These fucking botters and their bots botting and checking out. Not to mention sneakers and this bullshit exclusive access and draws. StockX is trending every day with some failed legit check. All of which are good points. It has been fucked up lately. However, the next day, the official photos of the Lightning Force come out and everything's back to normal. Man, I can't wait to get these. I've been waiting forever for those. That stuff you tweeted yesterday about, quitting the game, totally forgotten. These official photos have come out and have totally redeemed themselves. And not only just the people who publicly proclaim it, even if you just thought about deleting the sneakers app, you're a hero for having thought it. There's other people who haven't thought it. You have thought about it. Doesn't matter if you actually did delete it. You should be applauded for having thought about it. It doesn't matter if you did. That's exactly what the segment is about, to applaud those heroes. That's why, guy who likes to proclaim that sneakers aren't fun anymore, you are the sneaker guy of the week. I wanted to talk about a few releases and, some that are still going on. The first one is this off-white dunk through Sneakers Early Access. I don't really think these shoes are that great. They all look like a decaying tooth to me. The idea I think is overkill. 50 is just way too much, but it is innovative how he's doing it, as you get a random shoe, you don't know which one you're getting it. So the rollout is a bit different, so I don't completely hate it, but really, if it's a shoe that I can't get, it's totally out of my mind. And I can't get it because I don't have access to sneakers. The great Nike filter has done a pretty good job filtering out Canada, so that just means I don't really care at all. So I'm not a big fan of how they're kind of dropping this exclusive access a day at a time and kind of keeping you hanging on. But that seems to be the whole point of the release, is just to keep you hanging on. They don't want you to drop that thread of Off-White and Virgil being the shit. So in terms of like having fun for this shoe, the fun for me is making jokes about it every day when people rage about it. So, catch me on Twitter making whatever joke that comes to my mind that, 9 a.m. PST when everyone is, fake happy for their friends that get exclusive access. And very similar to this has been Yeezy Day. For me in Canada, that it was like basically no access to that Yeezy Day. It was in the US only. You need a VPN to even access Yeezy Supply. And those are easy to get, but it's not even worth trying for me since all the reshipper zip codes are banned anyways. And really, Yeezy Day is just a botting holiday. And that's just Adidas taking, inventory of what's in the warehouse and kind of giving them directly to the botters. I saw posts asking why doesn't Adidas actually advertise this to regular people, and really they do. They send out emails to their mailing list, which is about the extent of what most hype sneaker release marketing really is. It's only once in a while will you see these commercials and things like that made. Again, I had no access at all, so I just had fun making jokes on Twitter and not caring about the release at all. Finally, I want to talk about the JoeFreshGoods release. What's cool about him is he's real online on Twitter and on Instagram. And you saw recently where he was kind of battling out with the same sneaker publications that I was talking about, because he said, oh, they all have the date wrong, or they don't have the official photos. And really, those publications, they don't really care. They just want the likes and they want the news out there because they know people are asking them about it. But, like I said, he's real on Twitter. So he was basically saying, I'm not like these other people. I'm not like everyone else. That I'll be doing things my way and I'll release the shoes how I want. And so when he did get started on the release, he had this great rollout with this commercial first, and the commercial is great. And, it shows that it's a shoe for the people because, he's for the people. But the storytelling in the commercial really gives a hint at, I think, the stock number, since you can't really make a commercial like that and then drop 300 pairs. So the first release was this Chicago pop-up, and where people had lined up all day in the sun, or, started lining up at night. And it really didn't look fun at all. And for some people who did line up all day, they didn't get the pair if they got there really late because, from what stories and videos said, that according to people there at the pop-up, security was paid off at the exit, so people were entering through the exit and then getting shoes that way. So it's tough when, you're the man of the people and then this is what happens in a release. But, Joe did put out an apology on Instagram, and a lot of that earlier brashness about, I'm not like those other guys was gone. And it was replaced with like a sincere apology that he learned a lot for the next time. Ultimately, you release with the team and resources you have. No one thought to bring water for the event because it just assumed people would bring their own water. Or, just having three, instead of having three registers, you would have iPads and go up and down the line, stuff like that. But one thing I was finding interesting was, like he said, he wouldn't use that security again. But if you're in a big city, good luck trying to find security that's not paid off. The shoe itself, once people had it in hand, they were, you got to see some better looks from real iPhone cameras instead of these carefully selected photos. And the shoe kind of looks like a Two-Face for me, from Seinfeld. In some lighting, the shoe looks great. In other lightings, the sole looks like it's melted chocolate, or worse, turd brown. Maybe that's why the official photos weren't being released. I'd love to see it in hand before buying, but that seems like an impossible ask these days. If I had it in cart, I'd probably cop, but I don't think I'd pay $400, $500 resale for it. And, like I said, if my guess is right, that if they did make a lot, like say the same amount as the bodega shoes, then resale probably will be $400, $500. But I could be wrong. It could be limited. But there's no official online release. It's just a raffle. And from what I saw, it was one for Illinois and one for the rest of the world. But that leads to the main topic I had for this podcast, which is raffles. So I want to talk about raffles, particularly the Union 4s and the Travis fragment drops that we recently had. And some of this stuff I have tweeted about here and there before, but, consider the podcast the director's cut. I want to talk about why everything is a raffle now. And also, the raffle formula, as I call it here, of how the stores actually pick winners. And of course, we'll talk about raffle bots and the kind of the trolling that goes on. And, I have some thoughts there as well. So why is everything a damn raffle now? Especially Union 4s. Union had one of these Hall of Fame worthy drops, one of the best anti-bot first come first drops ever. So why would they all of a sudden change to a raffle? It totally bummed all of us on sneaker Twitter out, because by now we know how to cop on these types of drops. So people went from, a pretty good chance of copping them to, just not even knowing if you have a chance at all. I saw lots of tweets and lots of posts upset about this, even, emotionally gutted about this, because it's like that opportunity is taken away from them. And I think I even tweeted this. I understand getting emotional about missing out on bread wands or something with history or nostalgia. But really, this was like the second drop of a Jordan with a camping theme, which doesn't even make that much sense if you think about it. But, Union and Jordan and the 4, you combine them together and it's going to be something that people want. So I get it. So why the change though? We know why Travis changed is because, that kid on Instagram complained that he never had a chance. And really, I think it's probably the exact same thing with Chris Gibbs. Chris has a great reputation. He probably heard people walking into the store giving him feedback that, they were stuck in the queue, or they were still typing out their address and it's sold out, or they saw the post 1 minute late. And, for those of us who've sit in the queue, if you're 1 minute late, you're going to be in the queue for an extra 10 minutes, maybe. So for all those people that were vocal, their odds of copying were almost always near zero. But with a raffle, it's non-zero. They have somewhat of a chance. So, I've said this multiple times, but no one really listening wants to hear it, but it is the truth. We're bummed because we had the method of copying. We had a high chance. We don't care that the other people had zero chance. We care that we had a better chance. We don't care about fairness. Everyone just wants it easier for themselves. If you have this advantage, you don't want fairness across the board. For those kids on IG, they have a better chance with a raffle than they did with a Shopify drop they've never tried on before. The rest of us, our response is going to be fuck them kids. But if it's fairness we care about, the raffle is technically supposed to be fair. Even if raffle bots got 20% of the stock or whatever. We'll talk about RaffleBot soon. Those people still have a better chance at an 80% of stock on a raffle than they do getting into a Shopify queue 2 minutes late. Honestly, I doubt Union or Travis ever drop a hype shoe again, first come, first serve. It's probably, once that toothpaste is out of the tube, it's going to stay like this. It usually doesn't go back. Travis never went back, and so if Union has another Jordan collab, I doubt it drops first come, first serve again. It's probably going to be a raffle. Maybe they'll fix some of the mistakes they made with this release. Some of the text messages stuff that they didn't get perfect, but most likely it'll probably be a raffle. The real question is always, how are these stores, how is Union or the Travis team picking winners? It's natural to think that it's going to be 100% random. But really, we already know that they filter out entries that they get because they get millions of them, as we saw with this Travis low. But there's a certain formula that they must have that we won't know. They could say 50% of stock goes to people with a purchase history and 50% goes to people with no purchase history. You don't want to always favor past customers and not ever get new customers. But, sites like Travis always have these drop shipping drops anyway, so those are always, chances for people to become new customers. This formula of deciding on who is the winner and who's not, you could get super detailed as much as you wanted to. You could require shipping addresses. You could look up the address on Google Maps to see if it's a real residential house, all that kind of stuff. That might seem like I'm just making something up, but it's a script that anyone could write, that I could write. Here's an example formula that a store could use. Say 50% of your stock goes to people with a purchase history of $1,000, and 25% goes to people with a purchase history over $200, and then 15% to people over $100, and then 10% to people who have no purchase history at all. If you just apply that formula to the 3 million entries that you get, that dwindles the pool down quite a bit, I'm pretty sure. And I'm sure the biggest number is that 10% of people who have no purchase history at all. Because no one's going to have 30,000 email addresses that have previously placed orders. And really, some of the, the catch-all email addresses that people use are, frankly pathetic. If you put like XYZ resale shop on there, those are easy to filter out. Just filter for the word sneaker and you'll probably filter out half these junk email addresses. But we on the outside, just sitting, refreshing our inbox, we just have to trust that these stores do have a formula and they are applying it and they are filtering out entries. And the thing is, do we believe them? Are they filtering out correctly, or are they being lazy? Because everyone in the sneaker game has seen stores be lazy and just, drop something easily and quickly. But as I said in past episodes, if the store has their own name on it, they're going to care a lot more. Union is going to care a lot more. Travis is going to care a lot more. JoeFreshGoods is going to care a lot more. If the store is just raffling off this week's Yeezy, they're going to care a lot less. But of course, this stuff is not impossible. It is still possible to bot this stuff. We saw it with the Union thing where people were selling invoices because it was easier to sell those than it was to check out, and how strict the checkout was on that stuff. And, I saw some shady stuff there too, where people were selling invoices with no refunds and things like that. Especially when the odds of getting canceled were pretty high. And that's probably why we saw so many rounds of those raffle winners, because they were probably just canceling them and then restocking them and restocking with a new raffle round. But from what I saw, I'm pretty sure most pairs went to just regular people. But when you see, the Twitter timeline just being raffle invoice, and not, no one, like I always say, no one flexes the cancels. So it's never ever clear of how many of those people actually got canceled and how many didn't. Of course, I'm saying there were probably lots of people who got pairs through these kind of raffle bots, but my guess is still most went to regular people from what I saw. I saw more regular people with invoices than I saw flexed raffle pairs. And, even with the Travis drop, there's the big thing where, AYCD Jake and Zach, had trolled some screenshots of 30,000 entries and 87 winners. And, it went viral and it's all over the place. You got worked if you saw that. Everything is pro wrestling. That was a work. That was a troll. But the thing is, those guys are capable of getting pairs. They're no just lightweights. I'm sure Jake or Zach did get pairs, but probably not 87 pairs. By the time I got the shoe in hand and I posted photos, I had not seen anyone post any flex shots of the fragment highs. Where are the flex shots? Flexing is kind of important these days because it is a barometer of who hit, how many did they hit, because people can't keep quiet about this kind of stuff. The flexes tell the story. For Union, I saw a few flex photos of Union, and most of those were the Desert Moss ones and not the Topaz one. If you look at size 12 Topaz Union 4 on StockX, there's probably like 4 listings. That's how rare that shoe is, so that's probably why you didn't see that many people flexing it. And like I said, for the Travis fragment highs, I didn't see anyone flexing them in hand with stacks of them. I saw more pairs of those being flexed from, the New York loopers like Upscale Crack and them the week before the drop. And, those come from in-store. Than I did from the Raffle botters. In all these cases, I saw way more flex shots from Yeezy Day than I did these 2 drops. So in an Yeezy Day, the stock was higher, the success was higher. And that's what I want to get to here is the story being told. And what is the story of the drop? When Union had the distinction of being able to say that no one was able to bot their site when they did those anti-bot releases, they can't really say that now because there's clear evidence that people were able to Raffle bot their most recent release. But with Raffles, there's never going to be transparency. No one is going to be transparent on their stock numbers or the Raffle formula or even how many entries they get. The last one, the entries one, is the one where sometimes we find out, on Concepts Raffles, it shows how many people have entered. And, the Cactus Jack Discord said that they were filtering out 3 million entries. But overall, there's a good reason why no one can announce this kind of stuff. Because you can't, Nike says you can't announce stock anyways. And if you gave up what the formula is, then it could be abused. The retailer isn't going to say, we got 2,000 pairs and we got 2 million entries and we're only going to give it to people who have bought $200 worth of stuff. With these previous drops that were, first come, first serve and anti-bot and, all that stuff, the story of the drop was told by the retailer. The Aman Manier is one of the best releases of recent memory. And they worked really hard at it. And that is the kind of the story of the drop. That, bots didn't work. It was super fair. There were multiple rounds of raffles in store, online, and a regular drop. Sure, some people didn't get through the queue. Or if you were, distracted and 3 minutes late. Or, the theme breaks and you can't check out. Something happens or you're just too slow. Those stories you still hear, but they're not exactly the story of the drop. But with raffles, the story of the drop is completely out of the retailer's hands. The story is told by the people who took the L, who didn't get the text, the people who want to flex or troll, or the people who want to snitch on people who want to flex and troll. These raffle bots and this trolling creates this fog of war. Stuff is taken at its word and posted as if it's the truth. And it's promoted and pushed by even the sneaker publications who are hungry for the likes, as we talked about. And so it's out there and it's believed as true. A raffle could be 100% perfect and fair, and no one would ever know. The secret theme of this podcast episode has been about fun. Are you having fun with sneakers? Are you entitled to these sneakers? We know the answer is no, but really we want to say yes. I hit on all the good sneakers, so I gotta get these again. I deserve these sneakers because I took the time to figure out how to, buy it online. I put in the work. But is that fun? Is this entitlement fun? Is just about having it is the part that's fun? And yeah, I guess it is. Are you on Nike's hamster wheel chasing every decaying tooth dunk that's coming out, hoping you get early access tomorrow? I joke that it's like, man, this shoe sucks, but I hope I get it. What is the answer to this? The answer is to either stop buying the shit you don't need. If the thing you want is bringing you down, the answer is to not buy it. Or it's to extract fun from the things around you that you can control. And that's what I've been kind of talking about in this whole episode. On Yeezy Day and all these exclusive access stuff, I know I'm not getting them, so I'd have my fun my own way. The part about actually having that shoe in my hand is taken away from me. So to replace that feeling, you can go on Deadstock or something. Go open some random box and ask yourself, is this better than the Desert Moss Crisscross Union 4 camping shoe? We just had this whole year of buying. Maybe it's time for a year of purging. You can purge your identity too if you want to go that far. The sneakers that you have, do they represent you? I'm not saying go full Russ Bankston and purge everything. And, the title of this episode isn't called The Slow Descent into Communism. That would be a good name for an episode, though. But, reevaluate things for yourself if the shit you buy right now is bringing you down, or the shit you actually can't buy. I talked briefly about all this on the State of the Sneaker Game podcast, so definitely check that out, but I felt I had to almost say it again and kind of restate it, because it applies more than ever. If you're listening to this and you're like, hey, Sockjig, you actually got those Travis Fragment shoes, so who gives a shit what you have to say? And, that's fair, dog. But really, I have the shoes. They're going to go on a stack. I'm never going to probably wear them. They're more a collection piece now. I really wish resale on a lot of shoes just stayed at 700, 800 max. It makes it way easier to undead stock and wear. When a shoe resells for $1,400, $2,000, you have to stop and actually think about it. I'm sure pure resellers are listening to this going, what the fuck are you saying? Every shoe should go for a ton. I'd make so much money. And, that's the difference. I do resell shoes, but I really mostly collect. Like I've said before, if it's a good shoe, I've not sold it. I have them all. So all this stuff that I'm talking about here, when I say this, I don't mean it in a condescending way. I'm not really telling you what to do. I've already said I don't gatekeep. I'm just saying, think about it on your own terms. Stop buying the shit you don't need. That sneaker buying country club I mentioned from the last podcast. Are they going to tell you to stop buying sneakers? Absolutely not. That's a buying club. It's not a take a break and pause your membership club. They're going to say buy, buy, buy. Even just take buying out of it. It's like, if this thing is making you jaded, how does it not do that? How does the opposite work? And, my version of that is just extracting joy and fun out of the things around sneakers as well. And I don't have the answer of what that is for you, but I'm pretty sure you have an idea of what, you enjoy doing. So do that shit instead. I say it because I don't think anyone else is saying it because, the sneaker publications, they're more worried about the fog of war likes that they get than actually having the truth out there. Or, trying to figure out as much truth as we possibly can. And that's basically what I do on this podcast. So that's why I very respectfully say to you, stop buying shit you don't need. Go spend it on vacations or concerts or, cars or nice restaurant or whatever. I talk like I'm saying this to you, the audience, but really I'm saying it to myself. This has been episode 21 of the Sockjig Sneaker Podcast. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next time. Go fuck yourself.